So my wife and I are trying this, whole new year, new thing, whatever. And we're doing this thing where we wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, we walk a mile just to get your day started. Hey, babe, let's wake up, let's feel fresh, blah, 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 blah. And let's walk a mile to make ourselves feel better. I have been dragging all day. All day. How do people do this? How do people get up and be like, go on my For You page and on my social media and be like, oh, get up at 5 o'clock. I feel so energized. No, you're lying, dude. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. I know it's day one, but you're lying. There's no chance this ever gets better. Whatever, but I guess it's my new life now. Let's get into the podcast. Welcome back to another Detroit Pierce podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you so much for coming back and listening. If you follow, like, and subscribe, and you send it to me on any of my social medias, which is down in the description below, I will send you a personalized thank you or a picture of my dog, Frankie. It is, by the way, completely free to subscribe today on all of wherever you listen to your podcast. Whether you're listening on YouTube, whether you're watching, listening to it on wherever you listen to podcasts, it is completely free. I'm dead serious. Today and today only, so make sure you get that done. No matter when you're listening to this, it's going to be free. And make sure you follow on YouTube for live streams for Red Wings games and in the future, Tigers games when I go do that. So, with all of that being said, let's get into it. Let's get into the show. Let's talk about Detroit sports first. You might think to yourself, there's not, it's the NFL. Who cares? We'll talk about the NFL. You don't care about what I think about the NFL. Maybe you do, but let's talk about Detroit sports first. I got the Lions sweatshirt on. Am I mad that we're not playing the offseason? After watching the Seahawks get beat by 50 by Mr. Irrelevant, yeah, I'm a little upset. A little peek behind the curtain. My wife and I legitimately had plans. The Rams are up 10 against the Seahawks. My wife and I are living here in Phoenix, Arizona. We had plans. We had it all figured out on how we were going to get to San Francisco and watch that game. That's how confident I was. I had everything booked. I had it all down to the just absolute minute detail, hotel, flights. And then for the Seahawks to get it and then not show up is a little frustrating. Just a little bit. And then I tweet, you can't tell me that the Lions would have made a better game. And it goes mini viral. It has over 15,000 views. Let me explain that. I had a little misprint. And let me tell you something, okay? I do Duolingo, and I keep the damn Spanish keyboard, so sue me, all right? I have a typo, and I will never, unless, under a crazy circumstance, ever delete a tweet, all right? I stand by that. I have morals. So, yeah, it's a little embarrassing, but you know what? They would have made a better game than the Seattle Seahawks. But that, by the way, little side comment. So that tweet got retweeted so much that I had Jags fans tweet at me, be like, "Oh, this aged poorly." It's like, no, that's not how. I had a Vikings fan be like, "Oh, well, you would have beat we would have beaten you if we played you." No, wait, that was about the Seahawks. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not going to delete my tweets. I stand by that. But with all of that being said, speaking about the Vikings, obviously we all have friends growing up that root for the Bears, root for the Packers, root for the Vikings. And I'm talking to my Vikings friends, and it's very interesting. I think there's a very interesting thing happening in the NFC North. The Bears are obviously still in that rebuilding mode. Do I think next year, if they draft really well and get a lot of good free agents, that they could be a 7-win team? I think so, for sure. Do I think Aaron Rodgers leaves? I think so. I think he's sick of Packers fans. I think they're the worst fans in the whole entire NFL. I think they're spoiled brats. So I think they take a step back. And Vikings fans are now kind of whispering about how they're going to take a step back. This defense is, you can't fix it. Kirk Cousins isn't the guy. We need to rebuild. There's only one team going into this offseason that feels good to be good next year. Not good because the rebuild's looking good. Good to be a playoff team next year. And that's the Lions. So with that being said, does that make the Lions the favorite of the NFC North? Because for me, it does. And oh, Pierce, look, you were in line stuff. You're Detroit, Pierce, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I get that. I don't understand that I'm biased. But if you're an outsider looking in, every single hot take artist is going to say, oh, the Lions are the sneaky dark horse. They're the sneaky dark horse, which then makes them not the dark horse. But they're a legitimate team to win the NFC North. I would not be surprised that if the Lions have a good offseason, that I pretty much laid out the plan in my offseason podcast, which you can listen to, which was the last one. If the Lions do everything right in the offseason, draft really well, pick up a couple of free agents that fit the system really well on defense and improve the defense, they're clearly the NFC North the favorite. I think it's clear as day that they're the NFC North favorite. I like where I'm at as a Lions fan. I do. For the first time ever, I'm going into the offseason. I'm looking at the other NFC North teams and saying, we went 5-1 against you guys last year. You guys need to be afraid of us. I'm not afraid of you anymore. You need to be afraid of us. We demand respect. I love it. I'm excited. All right, switch to sports. Let's go to the Red Wings. Red Wings, big week this week. Big win against Winnipeg, 7-5. They almost blew it, but a big win. Then they played Toronto, which if you watch the live stream, big win 4-1, right? Big win against Toronto. I understand Matthews wasn't playing, but again, getting Husso that kind of like energy, getting him back. Here we are, blah, 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 blah. And then you give up 3 goals to Columbus in the first period. It felt like you gave up 3 goals in the first 6 minutes to Columbus, to then come all the way back and make it and lose 4-3, score 3 goals in the third period. Show me a little fight. Show me just a little bit of fight. I like it. But also, I was not expecting us to be in that game. You just got done winning back-to-back, and now you got this West Coast road trip. Colorado on Monday afternoon. Here in Arizona on Tuesday, which I'm trying to go to, but the tickets are $200 a piece. Then you go to Vegas, and then you fly home to play Philadelphia. That's a tough stretch. West Coast stretches are not easy. They are not easy. It'll be very interesting to see how they do here. I'm very, very excited. Speaking of other teams, Detroit Pistons. All right, it's that time of the day. Right? We're third in the lottery. What do you want me to say about the Pistons? I hope you win in Paris. Killian Hayes has impressed me so much. It's unbelievable. I hope Killian Hayes plays really well in Paris. I hope he drops 50, and I hope we beat the Bulls. Well, there's nothing to talk about. Killian Hayes looks good. Jaden Ivey looks good. Sadiq Bey looks good. He's got that. He's kind of like on that second half stretch that he always does, it feels like, where he's just like, yeah, by the way, I could be an all-star in the future. You should keep me. But he could also be used in a trade piece, and I wouldn't mind that. If we traded Sadiq and Bojan, I would not be upset. And Alec Burks. If we could trade those 3 for some picks, I wouldn't be surprised. All right, but you already know what time it is. Pistons. Spin the lottery, tankathon.com/mock draft. Let's hit the lottery and see who we get. Currently, we have the 3rd best odds. Clicked it, and we fall to 6, and we get Cam Whitmore of Villanova, 6'7" power forward, freshman, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 0.1 blocks, and a steal, 0.8. All right, undersized power forward. Can he shoot? Looks like he can shoot a little bit. All right. They say he's a 33% three-point shooter. Not the best. All right, well, I guess Cam Whitmore, if you're hearing this, welcome to the Pistons in my fun made-up brain. Tigers, no update for me. They got the international draft happened today. It's hard to gauge. It's hard to gauge those type of players. I didn't see anybody that really popped off the screen. I could be wrong, but it's hard. There's a kid that we have down that we got that I really like named Roberto Campos. I think he was 2 years ago, and I think he's like 17 years old. It's hard to get excited because there's so much that can happen until then that it's kind of hard to like get gassed up about it. But with all that being said about Detroit sports, it's time for my favorite. Not anymore because Chelsea sucks, but it's time for the European Minute, and it starts now. I can't believe Arsenal's actually going to win the EPL. I can't believe. It's about time. as a Chelsea fan, I've seen my team win each trophy about 8 times, so I'm glad that Arsenal can finally win something. I've been a fan since like 2010, and they've been an absolute joke, so it's cool for those fans to finally be happy about something. Manchester Derby was cool. I'm glad Manchester United is on the way back. Having a very good English Premier League, having like 6 or 7 teams be competitive is fun. It makes it a little bit more interesting. North London Derby, shout out to Peacock for the outage. That was a ton of fun. And Arsenal just burying my man Conte. Everton versus Brighton bet. So I made a bet at the beginning of the year that Everton would beat Brighton. Dumb brain. I'm like, Everton's never been relegated. Brighton had a good year last year. There's no way Everton doesn't win that. That bet is long gone. See you later. That money is gone. Everton sucks. Last thing. I was flipping around because it's Sunday. There's nothing on. They're really having El Clasico in Saudi Arabia. It's criminal. It's criminal. And that has been your European Minute. All right, let's bring it back out here on the pond. Let's bring it on to American sports. NFL. Let's go through each game. I'm going to do one thought. I'm going to do one thought on each game, and then I'll break it down a little bit more. So here's my one thought on each game so far. And by the way, currently the Bengals are up 24-17. Joe Burrow has the ball with 8 minutes and 45 seconds left. So I'm going to assume that's a win. All right, here is my one thought about each game, even though the Bengals and Ravens games are happening right now. Seahawks, 49ers. Seahawks, you're a fraud. You shouldn't have been there. We should have been there. Chargers, Jags. Justin Herbert, it is not your fault, my friend. It is not your fault. You have a bad coaching staff. It is not your fault. Bills, Dolphins. I wish Tua was healthy because I think they would have won that game. Bills got away with one. Giants, Vikings. Vikings finally got caught, 11-1 now in one-score games. Giants, don't know what you're going to do with Daniel Jones. Currently, the Ravens and the Bengals are playing. It's 24-17. I'm going to assume that the Bengals win. Bengals are tough. They're tough, but I don't know if they can be a Super Bowl winning team. And then my prediction for the Cowboys, Buccaneers. I want the Cowboys to beat the Bucs really badly, but I think the Bucs win. That's my prediction. All right, now let's break down the games. First off, 49ers. If you're a 49ers fan and you're honestly looking at the Brock Purdy quarterback situation, if I'm a fan of the 49ers, I think Trey Lance has a lot of trade value. Okay? I think he has a lot of trade value. I think a lot of teams would trade for him. I think the Raiders would trade for him. I think the Colts would trade for him. He's a young guy with a lot of potential. How do you not trade him? Brock Purdy, 18 for 30, 332 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And he manages the game really well. I think he fits that Kyle Shanahan offense. I don't see how you don't go with Brock Purdy. And I think Trey Lance will work. I think Trey Lance will work somewhere. I'm not down on Trey Lance. I just think Purdy is a better fit. And I think Trey Lance is a good quarterback. Get some picks for him. And then Jimmy G, I think you have 3 quarterbacks that are NFL quarterbacks. Trade them. Chargers, Jags. I want to give the Jaguars credit. I really do. Because I look at that and I'm like, the Lions are just like the Jags. They've never won the Super Bowl. They're both at times a joke. But now they're here 9-8 and now they're playing. They've won a game at home. And I want to be the Jags. But the Chargers are the thing to talk about. Sometimes in life, in football, coaches get in their own head. Coaches outcoach themselves. The Chargers, Staley does this every week, it feels like. If Sean Payton were to go to the Chargers, I think the Chargers would be maybe winning the West. Maybe. Not really. I think they'd be like still a step down from the Chiefs. Staley's not the guy. And weirdly enough, I think they need to let him go. Because they have so much talent right now that they need to utilize it. And this guy he's just too much. It just does too much. If it works, then it's like you're a genius, but it doesn't work. So too much. Dolphins, Bills. If Tua, I am a Tua guy, so Tua and I do not come after me. But as a Tua guy, I hope he takes a step down. Because for his health, I hope he takes a step down. If you're the Dolphins, what do you do next if he does that? Next year, what's your quarterback situation look like? I'll be very interested. Because I feel like with a good quarterback like Trey Lance, I think you can be, a 10 or 11 win team, and you would win that game. You win that game tonight. Giants, Vikings. Vikings clearly are not like they were 11-0 going into this game with one-score games. That has fraud written all over you. You're not going to be a Super Bowl team. Giants, they know how to win games. I don't know if they can beat the Eagles. I don't think they can beat the Eagles next week, but they know how to win games. I think you have to pay Daniel Jones. I don't think he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but I think he's a solid quarterback. I think you got to pay Daniel Jones. Bengals, Ravens. I'm hoping that Tyler, again, it's 24-17. The Ravens just got the ball back with 6 minutes to go. I'm hoping the Ravens win this game, and people are like, Lamar Jackson kind of sucks. Because then all of a sudden he might sneak into the Lions, maybe. And there's Tyler Huntley with a big freaking pass to Mark Andrews. That might happen. So my Super Bowl prediction, I believe I might be wrong, but I've been saying it all over the place, has been Bills. God, I hope it's been Bills 49ers. I hope that's what happens. If it's Bills Eagles, the city of Phoenix is going to burn to the ground. But I hope it's Bills 49ers, and I feel okay about it. I feel like the 49ers defense can get him there, and I think the NFC is weak enough that Brock Purdy can take him to the Super Bowl, and I think the Bills have that team of destiny kind of taste to them. I like that. I like that. All right, college football is over. This is where we usually put college football, but let's talk about college basketball. I've been tweeting about UConn, and a lot of people are like, why are you tweeting about UConn? You went to Nebraska. What's going on here, right? And you're Detroit Pierce. Why are you tweeting about UConn? So at the beginning of the year, I picked each conference champion, okay? I made a bet on each conference champion. Virginia to win the ACC, Texas to win the Big 12, UConn to win the Big East, Illinois to win the Big 10, UCLA to win the Pac-12, and Tennessee to win the SEC. How's it going? Well, other than UCLA, all of them feel either dead or kind of iffy. UConn, dead. They're done. They're done. They have popcorn muscles. I love them, but they have got popcorn muscles. They're fake tough. They don't rebound the ball as well as they should. I feel bad because I love Hurley, but I think he is the most hated coach east of the Mississippi, because the west of the Mississippi is his brother at Arizona State. They just hate him, and I hate it because they just never ever get him a call. I don't know why, but it has to be because they hate him. But UConn just feels fake tough, and it's just frustrating rooting for him. Illinois is a dead dog because the Big Ten's too good with Purdue and Michigan State ahead of them. I think they do get better because they got rid of Scott Clark, but they're just not going to win the Big Ten. Tennessee is in an interesting spot. So then those two are dead. Now let's talk about where I'm kind of feeling alive. Tennessee and Virginia. Virginia's 2 games down to Clemson, and they just beat Duke. But Virginia feels like they could potentially win out or lose 1 or 2 more games and still back their way into an ACC championship. I think they have the talent, and I think it's there, and I think the ACC is still kind of all over the place. I'm not dead on that. I'm not feeling great, but I'm not dead on it. That next step up, Tennessee. They lost at home to Kentucky, and you can't do that, especially with everything that's going on in Kentucky. And they're 1 game out of Alabama. And Alabama is really good, but I don't hate where I'm at. I have the best defensive team according to Ken Palm, with a really good, experienced coach. I like where Tennessee's at to win the SEC. I'm not dead on that. And that UCLA cashed that ticket. That thing is done. They're so strong. They're so experienced. They never crack. They've got 1 game. They're 1 game up on Arizona State. And Arizona State's good, but they're not good enough to win out and beat out UCLA. I think they play this week, if I'm not mistaken, here at Arizona State. Tickets are $23. I looked at it. That's how I know it. And then Arizona's already lost 3 times. USC's lost twice. I love UCLA. I think that's done. I think that's a done deal. Tell me what you think. And then for national championship, I have Gonzaga, which they suck this year, and I have Virginia, which I honestly don't hate. I think that they have the coach, and I think they have the system to make a run, because nobody's really the clear-cut favorite. I think Purdue still has some flaws. Do I really trust Houston? They barely beat South Florida the other day. I don't really trust. There hasn't been anybody that's oh my God, they're the team. Wembayama is not on a college basketball team. I'm looking at the list. Am I really afraid of Grady Dick in Kansas? I don't know. They barely beat Iowa State. They haven't really impressed me that much. Big 12's very good and Iowa State's very good, but you get the point. I'm just not intimidated by a lot of these guys. I like Virginia and I like Tennessee a lot this year. Then finally, right before final thoughts, UFC. I think you have to talk about. I'm a big UFC fan. John Bones Jones against Gane, March 4th in Vegas. Talk about one hell of a fight. We're still a couple months away, obviously. I want Gane to win. I think Gane is like one of the most beautiful heavyweight fighters in the world. Because Francis Ngannou will kill you, right? But Gane, you feel like he could do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He's a little bit more of a mixed martial artist. I want to see what he can do with John Bones Jones, and I want to see if John Bones Jones is actually back. Who am I going to pick in that fight? Ask me on March 4th, and it'll be different than what it is right now because I'm going to change my answer like 8 times. I'm going to pick Gane right now, but I can guarantee you I'm in my own head saying, you're really going to pick about... Because if John Bones Jones wins that fight, you have to put him in the greatest of all time conversation, and you really want to be on the other side of, man, I can't believe I got by my own self. The GOAT got me. It's like, I can't really feel, I can't do that. I can't do that to myself. All right, final thoughts. This is kind of a trash TV conversation, but one of my favorite shows on Netflix, and don't ruin it for me, I haven't gotten all the way through, is The Circle. I love The Circle. Circle is my favorite show. But I have a couple problems with the show, all right? With the characters. I call them characters, actors, or contestants, whatever you want to say. One, why do they care about catching catfish so much? That person, whoever that person is your friend, and they have your back. Who cares if they're acting as if they're a 23-year-old girl and they're a 50-year-old man? That's your loyalty. You need people to be loyal to you in that game in order to win. Who cares that they're catfish? Who cares? In order for me to start caring about catfish, if you catch a catfish, they should gift everybody like $3,000. And for every week that the catfish doesn't get caught, the catfish gets $1,000. Like, give them a little bit of incentive to catch a catfish. It makes no sense. No sense. Here's the other thing. Do they not understand how the game works? Every single time that the alert comes up, that they're like, alert. Oh, alert! Alert! What's going on? What possibly could be happening? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's that you have to rate somebody. Maybe, alert, after somebody got eliminated, what's going to happen? I don't know. That person is probably going to go see somebody. It's the same thing every time. Like, why? Like, if you're telling me that they have to act it, tell them to stop. Because it's clear. It's just cringy, man. The producers, chill out. You have such a beautifully... I think The Circle is such a great game. I think it's such a smart, strategic, fun game. And it gets ruined because it gets overproduced. And I'm like... And overacted. I'm like, what do we do? What? It's not believable. It's not believable. That's my rant. The Circle. It's my favorite. I love The Circle. I love The Circle. Shuby just got eliminated, so spoiler alert. You knew that Shuby was eventually. Shuby wasn't going to win. All right. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you so much. Don't spoil The Circle or you're dead to me. Dead. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you like and subscribe and you send it to me on any of my social platforms, I'll give you a personalized thank you and a picture of my dog. And by the way, it's completely free to do it, so make sure you go do it. Thank you so much. God bless. Go Detroit Sports.